Hello, and welcome to the second official episode of Majake The Gathering. I'm your host. My name is Jacob Neal,
And I'm Jake Blazek.
and we are just getting some deadly brews out on MTGO and seeing what works and what doesn't. We kind of alluded to our deck list at the end of last episode. We were using Demir Ninjas. It went through a couple of iterations. Started off as like a holy ninja list, and then kind of changed into like some ninjas, some not ninjas, and then eventually transitioned to like ninja fairies. So we have
Which I think ended up being a pretty good spot, but still, we'll get into it later. But, it's Ninjas maybe doesn't have the best home in modern.
yeah, currently, yeah, we will definitely get into that because modern is a harsh mistress currently, and the poor ninja boys just don't have much of a foot there. But yeah, we'll go ahead and start off our session like we did last session. Probably what we'll do for the rest of the podcast, and just kind of talk about our daily lives, how we've been like this past month. We'll start out with you, Jake. How's your month been?
Well, it's been pretty good. I started coaching track and field
Oh, nice.
for the middle school that I work for. So that's been pretty cool. Unfortunately, I will be missing the first 2 of 4 track meets because I'm helping with an audio-video project in the Woodlands, and then we're going to SCG Dallas that following weekend. So, yeah, I'm going to miss the first 2 track meets, but I'll catch the last 2
Yeah.
luckily, so
First
that's all
round
that
warm up,
matters, right?
anyways. Yeah, first round warm
Yeah.
ups. They'll be better after the first 2. Get the nerves out.
Yeah. But specifically, I've been coaching shot put and discus. So I did those in high school. So it's been kind of fun to get back out there and throw some heavy balls and discs.
Yeah, revisit it. Did you have to like take any sort of like training for that, or they're just like, hey, you have some experience, have at it?
Well, I work at a private school, so really it's just, oh, you're interested in doing it. Definitely, for sure. Can you do 5 other things? Because I mean they're pretty self-sustained. They kind of work with what they got. So I think there's like 65 people on staff who have to do everything from pre-K all the way through 8th grade. So
That's insane.
yeah, I coached soccer also in the fall, and now I'm coaching track and field with the PE coach. He's doing the running stuff, and I'm doing all the field events and throwing and stuff. So
Do they have to
been
call
pretty fun.
you Coach Blazek, or do you have them call you Mr. Blazek?
It's really up to them. I don't really care. I got a couple. Okay. To be fair, also I only really have 4 kids that are
Oh, okay.
that are competing.
Uh-huh.
2 guys and 2 girls, and so they. Yeah, I think like one of them consistently calls me Coach Blazek, and then the others just kind of Mr. B, Mr. Blazek, whatever. So
Nice. That's fun.
yeah, but I actually had to go out and buy a king size candy bar for one of them because I was like, all right, if you can throw the discus 60 feet, then I'll buy a candy bar.
Hey, that's
And
great.
she was upset that she was hit 59 and 9 inches. So I was like, okay, it's close enough. What's 3 inches, you know?
Yeah, exactly.
So I gave it to her.
Nice.
But so yeah, that's kind of what I've been spending my time with. My brother and I are also starting to play video games together
Oh,
because
awesome.
my wife and his wife have been watching The Bachelor together every Monday night.
Nice.
And so we were like, well, we got to have a guys' night if you guys are having a ladies' night. Yesterday was actually the first time that we got together to play, but we are starting to, and just kind of trading off playing a single player game. We're playing Resident Evil 7.
Ooh.
So we were sitting in his media room with his big projector playing Resident Evil 7 and literally shaking in our boots because that game is terrifying. You're basically just like stuck in a house and have to get away from these deranged people that are trying to eat you and tear your face off, basicly.
I freaking
You literally
love
get your arm.
27.
You literally get your arm cut off pretty early in the game, so
Yeah.
it was pretty terrifying. But we're having a good time with it.
How far
Some
do you
nights
guys
we'll
get?
play. Well, not too far. We played for like an hour, hour and a half, or something like that. Because I mean, we between the two of us, we've got 3 kids, so it's
Yeah,
kind
that's
of,
fair.
you know, he like I got there at like 7, and he was like, well, I gotta go help my son be put down and whatever. And I was like, no problem, take your time. I'll just sit here on Reddit. But yeah, that's kind of what I've been up to. What about yourself?
Yeah, it's been good. I've been currently looking for another job, so that's been my kind of to do. I had an interview, like a phone interview, and then a lunch interview, and then a work assignment. So I finished up the work assignment this weekend, and I'm hoping I can hear back from. I'm gonna send a follow up email tomorrow and see what they say.
And
So
what are these jobs that you're applying for?
So it's a graphic designer position, but I'll be like doing a lot of kind of like photo and video, kind of what I'm doing now, but more so like with a emphasis on the creative aspect. Because right now I'm not really doing a lot of creative at my current job. So it's gonna be like creative, and then setting up a photo studio for them, like a photo area booth set up.
Nice.
And then like creating like labels and helping them like market on like Facebook and Instagram, just like general social media marketing, photography, creative stuff. But it seems like a good company. It's pretty small. I think he said there's like 6 salaried workers there, so
Oh wow, yeah, that's pretty small.
yeah. So we'll see what they say. I also have I applied for the city of Garland, working as like a event coordinator for them. So I think that'd also be kind of fun, doing like setting up like special events for like the city, and then like creating posters and flyers and all that stuff, which I did a little bit in high school with the Smash Club, and I enjoyed doing that. So we'll see what they say. Just kind of looking and browsing. I recently got back into Dead by Daylight.
Oh, nice.
Yeah, I picked it up a couple weeks back, and I got myself back up to rank 1, which is the highest rank of killer, because I'm a killer main for that game. So I've been kind of grinding that out. Also, my girlfriend's super into board games. And they released a Dead by Daylight board game on Kickstarter, which looks super fun.
Cool.
Yeah, so we backed that, and it should be released in like October, they said. So
Yeah.
it was made by Level 99, who's done a lot of like fighting game, like Blaze Blue board games, stuff like board games that are like kind of based on video games. And it got, like, it's super popular. It got funded in like 10 hours, I believe. Like within the first day, and it's like $300,000, and it just like keeps on rising. I think today, this is the second or third day, and it's at like 45K, or 450K. Sorry.
Yeah. Even. Oh my gosh.
Yeah. So I've been doing that. Me and my girlfriend did some spring cleaning this weekend. So
Always fun. Always fun.
yeah. And I guess also I'm getting back into Warhammer, so just stacking a whole bunch of stuff on.
when the Warhammer Commander decks come out, are you getting those?
Oh, I'm gonna probably buy each one of them.
Yeah,
because I'm a nerd.
I'm not into Warhammer at all, but like in the store that we went to in Nacogdoches, where we met, they were pretty into Warhammer, or at least whenever I was there, they were like getting into Warhammer pretty big.
Yeah.
And so I perused around and kind of watched some games and stuff. So I never got into it myself personally, or very invested, or really understand anything that was happening. But it was fun to look at all the minifigs and just hear them talk about the lore of their whatever players they're playing as or whatever.
Yeah, armies.
Yeah, their armies. that's the word. But I think that just combining that with Magic just makes so much sense to me. It just because there's so much deep lore within those, and that's literally all what Magic's about. So
Yeah.
that might be one of the first like commander decks that comes out that I'm like, man, this is sweet. So if they've got cool commanders and stuff like that, like I don't play commander on any sort of serious level or anything, and it's totally casual, and I proxy everything that I have. But concerning commander, but yeah, I think that's might draw me in a little bit just because it's something fresh, it's something new, it's another fun thing. I don't know. So
Yeah, I mean, like with a lot of the like third IP stuff that they've been doing with Magic the Gathering, they've like had a lot of like really fun, creative take on things. Like recently, the Street Fighter Secret Lair got like put out, and like they're showing all like the characters and stuff, and like Ryu can do like Hadouken, and Guile
which
has
Hadouken is just specifically lightning bolt, which is pretty
yeah.
awesome.
Yeah, exactly. Like, there's just a lot of fun stuff where it's like they are taking the mechanics of a game and applying it to like the Magic setting, and it's like working well. I'm kind of enjoying. Like, with Stranger Things was a little like, it's like it's thematically like okay. The Street Fighter stuff looks really cool.
Yeah, I like the E Honda one because it's
Yeah,
like you can what is it like up to 100 creatures each get
you can block up.
plus whatever,
Yeah, I think it's like you can block up to
and
100 creatures or something.
something like that. But just the fact that it because it's like the 100-handed strike or whatever, so it's like references the actual game mechanic, which is cool. So
Yeah.
I kind of like what they're doing with the secret layers. I feel like a lot of people are kind of off them, and they're like, "What? This is Magic. You got to stay pure Magic. Blah blah blah. Whatever." But no, I mean it's fun to bring in extra stuff, and also all of that is ancillary product. You don't have to buy any of it.
Yeah,
Now,
exactly.
whenever they make a standard legal set that is like, you know,
Fortnite.
yeah, Fortnite, then that's when we have to start worrying about stuff. But for now, you know, the secret layers are a really awesome way that they can kind of explore these boundary breaks between Magic mechanics and bringing in other IPs, which is I think is really cool personally.
Yeah, no, I think it's really awesome. Just like allowing them to kind of like flex their creative muscles on something that isn't just like an original character. So yeah, I've also enjoyed a fair bit, and now they're also adding him to like the list kind of things where it's like 1 in 8 packs you'll get a Stranger Things like a Walking Dead like character that is a Magic character, so it's not like Rick Grimes. It's like Reginald Stabby guy or whatever.
Yeah, so is that like so they're putting that on the list, which I think there's like one list card in every set booster or something like that.
Well, kind of. So it's not one in every booster. It's like a chance.
Okay.
And but it's gonna be like a different part of like it's like you have the list and then you have the list with the Walking Dead like secret layer characters.
Gotcha. So it's like a separate thing.
Yeah, so it's like I think it's they said it's like 1 in 8 packs you'll get a Stranger Things or
Yeah.
a Walking Dead character from like that's like Magic oriented instead of
Gotcha.
original IP.
Yeah.
So it's kind of like the list, but different. So, yeah, I guess like talking about Warhammer, I'm building Knights, which is super cool. And they're about to release like the Knight Codex. Basically, the Knights are just like the really big models, like the big robot dudes.
Nice.
Yeah. So
Oh, at
that's what I'm
the
getting into.
store that so our local game shop that's like right around the corner from us just went into a new location.
Oh, nice.
And so I mean it's like 2 suites down, but it's like 2 or 3 times the size of it.
Nice.
Which is awesome.
Yeah.
And so, but they have from somebody's personal collection, they have some of the like gigantic knights, the ones that are like
Ooh.
a foot and a half tall.
Like the Warlord Titans.
Yeah, the like foot and a half tall, like, and there's 3 of them.
Oh
And
my
I was like,
God.
oh my god, these things are probably like $1,000 or something like
Yep.
that.
I think
And
the
they're
cheapest one's like 1,500, And that's like unpainted. Are they like painted and like fully?
No, they are super nicely painted. One of them has like some snow on it. Looks like it was been snowing on it and stuff. But I mean, it's an incredible collection. So next time you're in Houston, we'll have to go to Dragon's Lair and check that out.
I love me some Dragon's Lair. I'm actually going to Austin this weekend for my girlfriend's. Her parents are having like a little like birthday. All their birthdays kind of lined like within the same week or two. So they have a big like birthday bash. So we're gonna go down there, and we may stop by like Dragon's Lair down in Austin.
Nice. Yeah, so actually, a funny story about that Dragon's Lair, that specific one. I lived in Austin for a single summer, but during that summer was the time that the F&M promo was Path to Exile.
Oh, nice!
So I was like, oh, nice! I got to get me some of these. So let me enter into these Magic tournaments and see how well I can do. Well, I did awful, but at the end of the night, they always picked a random person at the event to give a promo to anyway. And so I won twice the random drawing, even sitting at like last place with my Bogles deck. So I got 2 of those F&M promo Path to Exiles from just showing up to Dragon's Lair in Austin.
Sheer luck, yeah.
Yeah. And then I ended up buying 2 more of the promos because I was like, well, I can't just have 2 and then 2 regular Conflux ones or whatever.
Yeah.
So I bought 2 more of the promo ones, and then a friend of mine somehow or for some reason had a playset of Spanish ones that were the promos. And he was like, 1-to-1 trade. I don't really care about these. And I was like, sweet, now I've got Spanish paths.
I think I've seen them, right?
Yeah, I played them for years and years, but then eventually my old roommate Grayson, we talked about him once on the pod.
Yeah.
He bought me for my birthday one of the Rebecca Gay ones.
Oh.
And I was like, well, okay, well now I need to upgrade to these ones because they've been my favorite card and they've been like my desktop background for years.
Nice.
So now I need to upgrade to these ones. So I kind of like slowly bought those ones because at the time, I mean, they were like $10, $10 or $12, something like that. So not even too expensive. But yeah, I was just like, I can't spend $30. I'm a broke college kid right now. So I was like, I'll buy one, and then I'll buy a second one, and then I'll buy a third one. Now I got a play set.
It's the way to do it. Like, especially when you're in college, it's like, man, I got like $50 my name, and I don't get paid for another like week or two. Like, eat some cheap Taco Bell, some good old like $2 McDoubles, and like use the meager remaining money to get some Magic packs.
Heck yeah, that's the way to do it. That's the only way to do it, I think. But
Right.
Well, anyway, let's take a short break, and then whenever we return, we'll talk about the deck list that we played for this episode, Blue Black Ninjas.
Yo, let's go. Welcome back to Majake The Gathering. We're actually going to go over our deck list. So I'll put it up here on the screen. We'll kind of go over the multiple variations. But this first one, okay, so I guess we'll talk about how we came up with the deck. So obviously Kamigawa came out earlier this month, I guess. It was like basically the very beginning of this month. So we wanted to try out some new ninja support from this new set, and definitely wanted to try out a Satora Blightsteel combo. So basically, Satoru Umezawa will allow you to ninjutsu anything for 4, and so we were just basically playing Satoru trying to get out a Blightsteel Colossus and win the game. That was our big goal. Was for us to sneak out a Blightsteel and hit for lethal infect. So we started with that as our base, and then we started building around that with like changing outcast, invisible stalkers. We had some Silver Fur Masters, Ninjas of the Deep Hour, Fallen Shinobi as our creatures in the deck. Also, like typical spells like Fatal Push, Inquisition, Thoughtseize, Counterspell, Drown Unlock, and then we had at this iteration only 2 Kaito Shizukis. We actually went up in the later iterations the amount of Kyotos we had in the deck. We started out with 2. I think, Jake, you're the one who... Did we ever play this deck, or did we change it to 1.1 version before we actually got games in? Do you remember?
No, so I don't think we played 1.0 or 1.1.
Or 1.1, okay.
Just because we were really just workshopping the deck. I know that we've talked about it on the podcast, how you feel much less comfortable as like a brewer, and especially in like hyper competitive formats like Modern. So you would rather kind of bring in a deck list and play that because it's been tried and true, tested. So being our kind of resident brewer on the podcast, I was like, well, concerning the current metagame, let's kind of fudge some numbers and move some stuff around. Then we came up with the 1.1 deck list, which we went from 4 Changeling Outcasts and 4 Invisible Stalkers to actually just going down to 3 Invisible Stalkers. Mm-hmm. And then we initially had 3 Satoru Umezawas and 3 Blightsteals, but we cut one of the Blightsteals because it's a really bad card to have just dead in your hand.
Yeah.
Down to 2 Fallen Shinobis because it's just not as easy to get out there either. We went up to 4 Silver Furs because initially we had 2. Mm-hmm. And then our split of Ninja the Deep Hours, we went in with the Moon Circuit Hacker, which is one of the new ones that ninjutsu's for a single mana instead of the 2 of Ninja the Deep Hour. Yeah. So, but it only draws a card straight up if it entered the battlefield that turn. So basically, the turn that you ninjutsu it is the only time that you actually draw a card without anything changing that. Mm-hmm. And then our spell suite, we cut down on the counter spells and went up on Spell Pierce because this is really just a tempo deck, and counter spell felt a little bit clunky.
Yeah.
Cut the Drown in the Lock because we weren't milling our opponent for anything either. I mean, that Modern's kind of a format where you fill up your graveyard anyway, especially with all of the great delirium stuff going around, like DRC and stuff like that.
Yeah.
But even then, just 2 mana versus 1 mana, especially in a deck that we're now playing 3 Mutavault as just another ninja, also just as a attacker that can't get hit by Prismatic Ending or something like that out of control decks. So that was another change to the mana base that we made. The sideboard, I'm pretty sure, just stayed 15 for 15. Didn't change at all.
Yeah, not really, no.
And so, which we didn't actually even talk about the sideboard yet, which...
Yeah.
So our sideboard was 3 Fatal Push. Sorry, not 3 Fatal Push. Those were in the main board. 3 Subtlety, 1 Fatal Push, 1 Pithing Needle, 2 Spell Pierce, 2 Aether Gust, 2 Dress Down, and 4 Leyline of the Void. So, actually, I think the day before I played my first league for this was when Luris was banned. So, there's no reason not to play
Goodbye Cat.
Big stuff like Leyline of the Void. It kind of soft unbanned that card. But we were also playing, a bunch of 3-drops and Blightsteel Colossus anyway, so it didn't really matter. So that was our 1.1 version of the deck. The only thing that really changed into 1.2 is we added a Brazen Borrower, because that is an incredible thing to pick up with your ninjutsus.
Yes.
Also, instead of doing the Invisible Stalker, which does have hexproof, which is great, we instead changed it to Dothy Voidwalker because it's basically unblockable unless they also have a Dothy Voidwalker. But it also just has
a nice
incidental
clause.
Yeah, just incidental graveyard hate, and also dealing with a lot of stuff that, or you can cast your opponent's spells and stuff, which didn't really ever come up because it is also pretty soft at having 2 toughness. But it is what it is. We also added Ingenious Infiltrator because I'm pretty sure it says, I think it's whenever another ninja deals combat damage, it draws a card. But Oh, the interaction that I was actually thinking about was Silver Fur Master says rogues and ninjas get +1/+1. So it incidentally buffs our Vadathi Voidwalker also because it is a rogue.
It
So
is, yeah.
that's nice. And then we just fudged a couple other numbers. We completely got rid of the. We went up 2 creatures and then down the counter spells just to fudge that a little bit. We were playing 4 discard spells. We split them 3-3 instead of having 4 Inquisitions. Thoughtseize is just a really good card. And then finally we went down to 2 Mutavaults instead of 3. And then for some reason, we weren't playing them anyway, but we put in Takanuma, Abandoned Mire, and Arawara Soaring City from the Neon Dynasty set because they're basically free and they do a lot of stuff.
They have an upside as well, yeah.
Yeah. So that was the first iteration that I actually played a league with, which I think you didn't play a league till the next iteration anyway. So let me just...
Yes, yeah.
Should we go ahead and talk about that one league, or should we...
Yeah, well, we can...
talk about the final deck list first.
Let's talk about the final deck list, and then next segment we'll talk about your league with this deck, and then the last one with the fairies as well.
All right. Yeah, you want to touch on the fairies, or do you want me to
I can
go into
get
that?
So our last iteration was a blue-black, like kind of fairy ninjas. So we had Fairy Miscreant, a nice 1-drop. We kept 4 of those, 4 Moon Circuit Hackers still. We went up to 4 Spell Stutter Sprites as well. Still 2 Brazen Bars, 3 Satoras, 2 Ninja of the Deep Hours, 2 Fallen Shinobi, and then 2 Blightsteel. So we got rid of the Ingenious Infiltrator, all of those, all of the Silver Fur Masters as well, and then also our Voidwalkers. And then we added Bitter Blossom in with the spells as well, and the lands pretty much stayed the same. So this is the deck list that I mostly played. So it was good at some points, not good at some others, which we'll talk about in our leagues here in a bit. Anything else you want to talk about?
Yeah, we actually also added back in some Drown in the Locks because I felt like...
Oh, yeah. We had 2 of those back in.
So we took out the Spell Pierces and added in Drown in the Lock. I feel like that was just a concession to the fact that Spell Pierce didn't interact or the deck as a whole, I guess, didn't really interact with the board as much as we wanted to, especially whenever you're trying to get in all of those attackers for the ninjutsu. So the ability to have 5 main deck counter or kill spells and then also having the 2 petty thefts to get in our blockers was kind of a reason for going up on the Drown in the Locks again. And like I said earlier, the modern format really likes to fill its own graveyard anyway, with cheap spells and stuff anyway. So I feel like that was a pretty good change. So we really went from being a dedicated I play ninjas to like what's the best tempo strategy where I can ninjutsu in creatures. So like adding the Fairy Miscreants, where if you had 2 of them, you could kind of like attack with both of them, ninjutsu in 1. You're probably getting through because there's not many flyers in the modern format, and then redeploy it for a single mana to draw a card was really great.
That was fantastic.
And the Spell Stutter also just being a counterspell creature that you can just pick up and do stuff. I found myself a lot of the time actually like at the end of their turn with 2 mana open, I would just flash in a Spell Stutter even if they aren't playing anything because I wanted to ninjutsu it, and I would just get it back, and then I would be able to counter it then. So I don't know, I felt like that was a pretty cool interaction. I don't know about you, but I think I boarded in 3 Subtlety almost every single game.
Yeah, there are a lot of good creatures in Modern right now.
And Planeswalkers, yeah. Like we'll get into it a little bit, but I actually played against quite a bit of Tron, so being able to hit those Planeswalkers too was really nice.
I faced a lot of Amulet Titan, which we'll get into.
Hey, I think they play a lot of big creatures.
Yes, unfortunately, putting a Amulet Titan at the top of the a Titan at the top of the deck doesn't really stop it too much because they're just like, oh yeah, we can just play it next turn anyway and get more lands. But yeah,
Right.
we'll talk about it later. Yeah, so I guess we'll take a short break and head over to our leagues.
All right, welcome back with us. So we're going to go ahead and go over all of the leagues that we played. Jacob, how many leagues did you get in?
I got 2.
All right, so I ended up getting 3 in. So I got 1 league with the dedicated blue-black ninja, just trying to jam as many ninjas with Infiltrator and Silver Fur Master in it. So I got 1 league with that in, so I'm going to go over that one real quick first, and then I'll talk about the other 2 leagues that I played with the Fairy Ninjas.
Awesome.
So this league, not easy, not great. I think the deck had a lot of problems with it. We tried our best to just make a dedicated Ninjas deck. I did win a couple of games with Blightsteel Colossus and Satoru. So, and I misplayed to win a match with it. So, it's fine.
Nice.
But yeah, this league ended up 0-5. That's what this podcast is about, man. It's about the 0-5s. It's about the 5-0s. It's about the 1-4s and everything in between. So, we're brewers. We're not winners sometimes.
Story of my life.
Yeah. So anyway, let's get into it. Round 1, I faced off against Blue-Red Murktide. So, 0-2 in this match. They are just a hyper efficient deck. They probably got a Ragavan out, and I wasn't able to stop it, and spiraled out of control from there. They have really good removal. All of our creatures are pretty small anyway, so it's just hard to get through their wall of counterspells and removal. And whenever you're facing down a Murktide Regent, that's pretty tough. So 0-2 loss against them. Round 2, I played against Elves, and Game 1, I was just outpaced, and so I didn't really get a chance to do anything. Game 2, I had a turn 3 Satoru and turn 4 Blightsteel,
Nice.
and they just decided not to block my 3/5, which was nice because I had the Silver Fur out, which was pumping my Satoru. And then in Game 3, I definitely had a big, huge misplay where I should have played. I had 4 mana available. I had a Satoru on the battlefield, and I had a Blightsteel in hand, and they just had clogged up the board with creatures. So I was like, okay, well, I have in my hand a Brazen Borrower. So I was like, okay, I've got 4 mana. I can flash in this Brazen Borrower and win that way, because they weren't going to attack through my stuff anyway, because they had a lot of things that they wanted to keep around. And I had a 2/4 on the battlefield, so it's kind of tough to get through. Little did I know, they were a green-white version that played Vizier of... what's that card? Vizier of Remedies, the one that goes infinite with Devoted Druid, so... Yep. And a War Master on the battlefield. So they were hellbent. So I was like, okay, I obviously win this game. So they played that, and instead of being able to just flash in my Brazen Borrower, I had to use Petty Theft to get rid of their Devoted Druid so that they couldn't just go infinite and win. So I was like, well, that sucks. And all along in my hand, I also had a Dothy Voidwalker. So what I should have done is just play the Dothy Voidwalker because it is unblockable. And then I would have still had the Petty Theft to be able to
bounce it,
do that. But yeah, so an unfortunate 1-2 loss there when I definitely could have won that match.
Yeah.
Round 3, I lost horribly to Dredge 0-2, even though I had... that was a really weird game. So, weird match, because we have main deck Graveyard Hate in the form of Dothy Voidwalker, and then we also have 4 Leyline of the Void in the sideboard. So you would think this would be a really great matchup. But game one, they just got their stuff going and were able to get it out before I had a Dothy Voidwalker. Game two, I played out a Voidwalker and it rode me to victory. So I guess actually 1-2. I have that wrong in my notes. So I got him, or I lost this one 1-2. Anyway, game three, kept a hand with two Dothy Voidwalkers, and they thought seized one of them and was able to discard a Conflagrate. So I was like, okay, well, if I play out this Voidwalker, it's just going to die to Conflagrate, so it doesn't really matter. But I should have done that anyway, because then like they wouldn't have been able to just start dredging.
Yeah.
So I was just playing scared, and ultimately died. So
Damn.
round four, this one was really, really, really close against Grixis Death Shadow, which was post Luris ban, so they didn't have anything there.
Mm-hmm.
Or they didn't have the repeated value there.
Yeah, I saw them. I played against one Death Shadow, and they added back in the cycle, the pay 2 life cycle. What's it called?
Street Wraith.
Street Wraith, yeah. Cycler Street Wraith, yeah.
Nice. Which, I mean, Grixis Death Shadow players are off of that now, actually, which is interesting.
Oh, really?
Yeah, but this was a 1-1 loss, so game one, they kept a one-lander and was just too slow to get more lands. I was able to pull ahead and win that game. Game two was a really, really long and grindy game, and my opponent was really super disciplined and didn't kill the one threat that I had.
Mm-hmm.
And I had like Thought Seized or Inquisition them, so I knew exactly what their hand was. So I just kept track of the 2 cards in their hand the whole time. And so it was just a Dress Down and Unholy Heat the whole time. And I didn't want to deploy any kind of better threats because I had like a 1 or 2 mana, or a 1 or 2/2 or something like that, just crashing in. But they were super disciplined, and they were just like, okay, well, I'll just wait till you play something better, and then I'll kill that, and then win. So they were able to deploy a Death Shadow, and I couldn't kill it, and yeah, just kind of went downhill from there. But unfortunately, I had to concede the third game and didn't get to play it because my son needed a bath, and sometimes life gets in the way of things.
Yeah.
Not in the way, but sometimes life takes priority to Magic. So
What?
had to concede
What are you
that.
talking about?
My adorable, cute 5 months old son is a little bit more important than Magic the Gathering.
Man, first time I ever heard this.
And then round 5, 0-2 to 4-color Blink. They just have way too many 2-for-1s and cannot get over that. So, yeah, 0-5 in this league. I feel like I've been talking for 45 minutes about this league. So why don't we hear about one of your 2 leagues that you made?
Yeah, so Jake's first league was still with the like dedicated ninjas deck. Mine were with the fairy ninjas. The first my first league was a lot better than my second league. So my first league I went 2-3, which wasn't horrible. So first one I went 0-2. It was like a red white like mid-range deck. So it was running like it's the guy who like has haste and he allows you to equip stuff to it, and it was like a strange like kind of like prowessy red white. It was a strange deck. I haven't seen it before. So I was still in the deck. This is I learned in this match that ninjutsu they have to be unblocked, because I was like, oh yeah, ninjutsu is just if you attack you can put in the ninjas. So I had a couple times like, okay, I'll attack, and then they just block. I'm like, oh wait, my guy just dies now.
Oops.
So that was my first one. Second game, super unfortunate. I got super tilted, and I almost rage quit. It was 2 merfolks. I lost 1-2. First game, I was able to get out a sneaky Blightsteel and win fairly early. Second game, they were just able to kind of outvalue me with like lords and like Master of the Pearl Trident, just things that were buffing their Merfolk. And they also had the new one from Modern Horizons that make everything indestructible. It has indestructible, and everything else gets ward 2 if you have 3.
The Svaliun or whatever their god is.
Yeah, exactly. And then turn 3, I messaged you this one.
Yeah.
Turn 1, yeah, it was it made me angry.
You explain it.
Yeah, turn 1, I Inquisition. They didn't have anything too great, so I was like, I'll just take a Lord, it'll be fine. They had the Lord, they had like Marrow Regery, stuff like that. So I took a Lord, and then they drew, and immediately played an Aether Vial. So I was like, come on, man. And then just with the value of like Aether Vial and their the merfolk that I'll just kind of like draw when you play merfolks. I'll draw when you play the merfolk. They kind of just outvalued me. And since their creatures are going to be a lot bigger than ours, I just really couldn't handle them. Third one, O2 with an Indomitable Creativity deck.
I think that deck is cool.
Yeah, it was interesting. It's like a cascade into an Ugin, and we really can't do anything against an Ugin.
No. Nope.
So that happened both games, kind of just like turn 2, turn 3, cascade into an Ugin, and I'm like, well, only creature that can survive is a Satoru, and he'll just -4, and he'll be fine. So that one went kind of bad. Last 2 games, actually, this one was super interesting because it was a Living End deck, and I actually went 2-0 with this deck. So first game, or first round, I just had like a strange amount of just like hand removal, so I was able to get down, like take out all of his threats of like the cascade stuff before he could actually get off, and then I kind of just outvalued him with my creatures, which is super strange because I usually don't have them with Living End. Second game, I drew my hand and it was 2 ley lines. I put down 2 ley lines. He was like, okay, cool. Discarded some stuff and then tried to destroy my ley lines with the like Foundry Breaker, I think it is. What's the Foundry Breaker? And I countered it with Drown the Lock.
Well, there you go.
Yeah.
That'll do it.
And so a Foundation Breaker, yeah. Maybe it was.
Okay, yeah.
Oh, it was Foundation Breaker, but I had, it was either a Dress Down, I believe. I think I had Dress Down.
It's probably Dress Down because Drowning the Lock, if you've got your ley lines out, it doesn't do anything.
Yeah, so I had Dress Down his Foundation Breaker and he scooped. So that was pretty nice. And then finally, my last match, another 2-0. Oh, no, this one was 2-1. It was against an Eldritch Evolution deck, which Drown the Lock and Spellstutter Sprite were actually super good in this deck. Basically, I think it was Eldritch Evolution into Gristlebrand, draw his entire deck, use like Nourishing Shoal, stuff like that, basically draw everything.
Was he playing like Thrasta as a win con or anything like that?
No, I saw. I think it's just the Grishol brand.
Okay.
Package. Yeah. So
because like the deck that I played against for last episode was like a Neoform Gristlebrand deck that won the game with Thrasta.
Interesting.
Because I think I sent you a screenshot of that one where I was being attacked by a 49/49 Thrasta.
Yeah, he was using like the Grishol brand like formula, so
so it was just like, was he trying to attack multiple times in a turn, or what was? How did he win his one game? Or just like stick a Gristlebrand and just attack a couple turns?
Yeah, he stuck a Grizzlebrand, and he threw the Breach to Worldspine Worm.
Okay. Through the Breach too. That's cool.
Yeah, it was an interesting deck. So he won. I won the first game. he won the second game just because he was able to get out of the combo quickly, and I won the third game with, I think it was like spell pierce. He like
Yeah, there you go.
yeah, he I was able to like kind of pick apart his hand, and he got down the Allosaurus Rider. He went to Eldritch Evo. I spell pierced it and he conceded. So went 2-3. You need to finish up my leagues and we can hop back to yours. I have one other game or one other like league.
Sure. I mean, I've got two. I've got two more also, but my second league is not impressive. I was just gonna kind of run down the decks that I did, and then kind of get a little bit more in depth in the third one.
Okay. Yeah, cool. I'll run down mine quickly as well. This was not very exciting. I went 0-5 because I went against 3 Amulet Titan players, a Adnaz player, and then basically Grixis Modern Horizons 2. So first match, just completely stomped me with like DRCs, Ragavans, Murktide. He was playing Grixis, so he also had a cut the Kaito in his deck. He never actually played it, but I saw him surveil it away with DRC. So it was basically just, Grixis, Modern Horizons 2. And then 3 rounds of Amulet Titan really didn't stand a chance. Not much that our deck can do against that. And then Adnaz, it was 2-1. So he won the first game. I won the second game by spell piercing and like spell stutter spriting, spoil the vaults and his Adnaz. I was just able to eventually beat him down. He spoiled the vaults for a Angel's Grace and went down to 3, and I had 4 damage on board, so I was like, okay, yeah, that's fine. He tapped out for all of his mana, so I was like, okay, cool, and I just swung and killed him. But he was able to win the third game by casting Silence on my on his upkeep, or untap upkeep. So unfortunate. So that one,
some tough losses.
Great. Yeah. So we'll go ahead and talk about your leagues, and then we'll kind of talk about what we think about this deck.
Yeah. So my second league, I played against some pretty interesting decks, but I mean, I don't really have any notes really, so I guess the games weren't super interesting. But I played against Grixis Death Shadow, which was featuring Gigantha as a companion.
Oh, really?
Because they don't play any double pip anything, they're able to play Gigantha.
Yeah.
So in the late game, that can just be like either an 8 mana 5/5 or a 3 mana in the early game to get it out whenever you have nothing going on, and a 5 mana 5/5 later on. So, kind of a cool pivot, I think. Even though I don't know, there's probably issues with the companion mechanic as a whole, but it is what it is. And then I played against a Grixis control deck that's like top end was trying to hit Murktide Regent, win the game like that. Was able to get them 2-0. They just were all answers and not really pushing threats. So, and I was all threats and, was just kept deploying them, and they were like, well, I guess I dirtle and lose. So in the queue somewhere down the line, I have a Grixis control deck that I wanted to play too, but hopefully ours does a little bit better. Then round 3 and 4, you actually hopped on and we played this one over Discord together. So it was the red-black Oni Cult Anvil Sacrifice deck. So this deck was kind of pioneered by Twitch streamer Aspiring Spike, which it's pretty cool. I mean, it's just value sacrificing artifacts and stuff to ping your opponent and get creatures and whatever. So Oni Cult Anvil Sacrifice, if you haven't seen that deck, I would recommend checking it out because it's pretty sweet. But yeah, O2 in that match, they were just a huge value engine and were able to gain enough life that we couldn't really overcome that.
Mm-hmm.
Round 4, we actually played against Y Principe, or Prince, as some people know him by. So he's actually a pretty, or he was like the points leader or the trophy leader a couple
Yeah.
seasons ago. And so Aspiring Spike actually had like a race against him, and they were in contact. So I don't know if you can tell, but I enjoy Aspiring Spike's content, and so that's how I kind of learned about this guy. But anyway, he was on a Jund Collected Company deck that featured Magus of the Moon and Lightning Skelemental.
Yeah.
So I mean, I just didn't fetch any basics, and he was like, Magus of the Moon, and I was like, oh, guess I die? I don't know. Didn't draw any more basics. So yeah, 0-2 that round. I mean, Prince is just a really smart player too, so he also streams, so if you're interested at all, it's Y Principe. Um, and then round 5, I went 1-2 against Murktide Regent, or the blue red Murktide deck. So 1-4 for this league. Not
Mm-hmm.
anything too remarkable in that one. So then my last league, I went 0-2 against a blue white Ingenious Smith Saga deck. It was just kind of blue artifacts that was splashing white for Ingenious Smith. Kind of a cool deck. Then I played against a Zerda Mono Bluetron deck. So
Oh,
if you don't know
interesting.
anything about Zerda, it's one of the companions. It's a 3-mana 3/2, I believe, something like that.
Mm-hmm.
And the companion thing is, or the stipulation is that your deck, every permanent has to have an activated ability. And so, I mean, in Tron, you're basically playing planeswalkers and different things like that. So he was also playing Shark Typhoon, which is an activated ability, technically cycling, and then Mindslaver with the
Oh,
Academy Ruins. So I
ew.
just, I one of the games I didn't play their land from a Fallen Shinobi activation, and could have survived at least one more turn to see what would happen, but nope, I just just lost to a Mindslaver lock. Whoops. So that was 0-2. I went 2-1 against Mono Greentron. So super long and grindy game one. It went all the way down to me having 4 life with 2 Bitter Blossoms in play. Um, and I ended up fatal pushing one of my own blockers on their Worm Coil engine and bouncing it at the end of the turn
Nice.
with Petty Theft to be able to kill them the next turn. So that was I don't even remember which game that was. But then game 3, I guess they just didn't ever draw a second land and they scooped. So I was like, okay, whatever.
Let's go.
And then I texted you about this, or I sent you a screenshot of round 4,
Mm-hmm.
because I played against yet another Tron deck, but this was the Core Tapper Charge Tron deck.
Oh,
Um,
yeah. Yeah, yeah.
so Core Tapper, for those of you who don't know, is a 2-mana 1/1. You can tap it to put a charge counter on target permanent you control. And then it plays like Astral Cornucopia, Everflowing Chalice,
Mm-hmm.
Chalice of the Void, like all these things that play charge counters, and tap for mana and stuff. And then it also has the ability to sacrifice it to add 2 charge counters. So, I mean, you can just like tap it and then sack it to add 3 charge counters to something. And so it basically went infinite with like a what was it playing? Mystic
That's,
Forge.
yeah.
Yeah, basically went infinite with like a Mystic Forge, so that they could just play all these artifacts off the top of their library,
Yeah, like Paradox Engine.
and Paradox Engine, so that they could like get rid of all the lands too.
Mm-hmm.
And then it was also playing something. Oh, Karn,
Yeah, Karn.
the great creator, to in order to just get all of, or all of the artifacts and stuff from your sideboard. So they killed me with a giant, like, I don't even remember how big it was, like
25, 25.
Yeah, it was like a 25-25 walking ballista,
Mm.
while they still had 150 mana in their mana pool. Um,
Yeah, 150
but I
white and
mean,
24 colorless.
yeah, I I had I ended up going 1-2 against this deck, and honestly, the last game I knew I was dead, so I just let them dirtle, which they enjoyed apparently, because they could have killed me like in like 2 minutes, but they spent literally like 6 minutes just clicking through random stuff and just getting random stuff from their card board, and then playing another card and going in a different thing and blah blah blah, and just like going back and forth,
Fine.
just playing all of this stuff, making 600 mana and whatever.
It's best time.
Um, so you know, it was it was fun to watch that anyway. And then round five, I went 0-2 against Hardened Scales. So in game two, I got stuck with only 3 lands for several turns with a flyer in play and Satoru with on the battlefield with a Blightsteel in hand. I never drew that fourth land, and so died with all of that ready to be deployed.
That sucks.
And they were like hellbent because I mean they were just top decking and weren't drawing creatures, so I was just like mine for the taking basically.
Mm-hmm.
And the next game I took their Ozolith with a Thoughtseize, but I probably should have taken a Hardened Scales, since they didn't have a Ravager, and so it like, you know, it wouldn't have mattered as much if they could like sack their stuff.
Mm-hmm.
Just ultimately died to just Hardened Scales shenanigans. Um, so anyway, that was my third league. I went 1-4. So grand total, I ended up going 2-13 overall. Like we talked about earlier, the deck could use some work. So why don't we go ahead and take a quick break, and then we can talk a little bit about what we would change, or whether or not you should even play the deck at all. Anyway, we'll be right back.
Hello and welcome back to kind of like the deck overview. We'll kind of just talk about what we feel about this deck. I guess like my biggest criticism is honestly like our creatures just don't do enough for the deck. Just in the sense that like we're going up against DRCs that it's a 1 mana 1/1 that turns into a 3/3 that also has Surveil and like Ragavans and Murktides and Amulet Titan. Well, in prime times, like our best creature that we can hope for is like a 4 mana 2/2 that has a draw card. Which other decks are doing a lot more efficient, a lot more cheaper. And so eventually it just happens to where we are able to start off decently, but as the game continues, their creatures just outvalue and outbeat our creatures in the long run. And so I feel like ninjas still need a bit more support. They need like their Ragavan or like their DRC to actually like make this a nice show. Because currently at the moment, which makes sense because these are standard legal cards. They can't be as crazy and as pushed as Ragavan or a lot of the stuff that's coming out of Modern Horizons 2. Yeah, the ninjas in the modern format just don't have enough of a
They don't have the oomph.
yeah, exactly. They don't have the prime like factor. They don't have like the it, I guess. So that's kind of what when I was playing through the deck, I was like, man, like it would have been great if I could have. I guess like most of my things get blocked by a DRC, a 1 mana 3/3 of flying. So
Yeah, I mean those are basically the same notes that I wrote. I said that like the main issue that we came across is that it's basically a creature deck that's trying to win through the combat step, but we can't really go wide because we keep returning our own creatures back to our hands. So like, and even the creatures that we're deploying out there, like unless they're winning the game, like Blightsteel Colossus, they're kind of fragile. They're like 2/2s or things like that, that really don't have any kind of abilities or evasion or anything like that, unless they're not unless they just don't. And against all of the best removal and most popular removal in Modern, such as Lightning Bolt, Unholy Heat, Path to Exile, Prismatic Ending, all these different things, like, it's just really hard to keep up.
Yeah.
And we can't get that value either from the ninjutsu, because if we ever stick something that does have evasion, like Dothy Voidwalker or the Changeling Outcast, then I mean they're 2-in-1 power or 2-in-1 toughness creatures that again die to those exact spells that I just named.
Yeah.
And then our Modern really is a creature based format. Most decks are actually trying to win through that combat step, but also the majority of the creatures in the format do something other than attack. Like
Super
I guess
pushed.
technically Ragavan and Murktide are kind of an exception to that, but they either come down early and pose a threat that could snowball into winning the game, or are difficult to remove like Murktide Regent, or sometimes both. Like they're just hyper aggressive
Like Amon
things. Like yeah, exactly. So it seems like the best way to attack it then was to add in the Spellstutter Sprite package, and to bring in Bitter Blossom to go wide and do all that kind of stuff. But I mean, like we've just been talking about, these creatures are just not up to the power level anymore of what Modern actually looks like. So I don't know how we are I guess we haven't really figured out the best way to close out our podcast and say if we recommend the deck or whatever. But honestly, I wouldn't really recommend these decks too much. They're
this would be a good deck
slow.
3 or 4 years ago, where Tarmogoyfs and Dark Confidants were still running around. I feel like this would be a good deck pre-Modern Horizons. Post-Modern Horizons, there's just too many more efficient and more pushed threats than our 2/2 or 2/1 that allows us to draw a card.
Yeah, I think another big takeaway that I have from this deck, though, is that Kaito Shizuki is an incredible Magic card. I think that card is really, really great.
Mm-hmm.
I've seen it in a couple different shells, even Grixis Death Shadow started picking it up, and different things like that. I actually saw a list recently with Kaito Shizuki and the Royal Scions together in a deck, which was sweet.
Nice.
It does everything that you want Grixis Death Shadow to do, and especially with the Luris ban, you can play those now in that style deck. So that card was incredible. If you do try to build ninjas, I would recommend still doing the fairy package, but also not trying to dirtle around with the Blightsteel Colossus. Although it was kind of fun and memey, I think it was just that. It was just kind of a meme. So that's my takeaway from the deck ultimately. I don't know. What do you think, Jacob?
Yeah, there are times where I guess the best feeling with this deck is getting a cheeky Blightsteel kill. But most of the time it's I put down a threat, but they immediately play a DRC and Unholy Heat, my Spellstar Sprite or my Fairy Miscreant, or put down a Kaito, and then they beat over me with a Titan, a Prime Time. Yeah, I just feel kind of like what I said before, ninjas just don't have the it factor. They don't have the one or two creatures that kind of push it to being meta. They just don't have enough. They don't have any super game breaking or super efficient effects, and so a lot of the times I would be able to get out. Oh yeah, I get my ninja of the deep hours out, but now it's just a 2/2 that they can block with a pretty much most threats in Modern, and so I get a draw trigger once, and then the rest of it is just kind of stuck on my board. So yeah, I feel they just need some. It still needs some more help. I feel if we got some super spicy stuff other than Fallen Shinobi in Modern Horizons 2, it could have been nice. But currently, at the ground where it is right now, I just feel isn't a super it's not really something you should invest into right now.
Yeah, I totally agree. So yeah, our final verdict, I guess, is don't play it until Ragavan and Murktide and basically all of MH2 gets banned, which I don't think is going to happen. So
Or they reprint them as ninjas.
maybe don't pick up this deck. Yeah, just print all of those cards as ninjas, and then this will be a great ninjas deck. So anyway, I think that's going to wrap up the episode for us. Stay tuned next time, where I think we are going to be playing a 4-color Sultai Stoneblade deck of my own brewing. I've been working on this deck for just a little bit of time because I actually own this one in paper. So, and we're actually going to have some paper results with it too, because we are going to SCG Dallas
next week.
Yes, SCG Con Dallas. So if you're up there, hopefully this episode comes out before then. Well, I'm not exactly sure what our timeline looks like, but if it comes out before then and you hear it and you're looking for us, I'll be either on the Modern Challenge tables, the Legacy Challenge tables, or the Pauper Challenge tables. So
and I'll be playing some Commander.
Yes, and Jacob will be out playing Commander, playing his brews. So thanks again for joining us, and yeah, can't wait to do this again.
Yeah, we're actually it's gonna be our first in-person session. So we've been doing this over like Discord since we live super far away. So this will be our first like in-person recording session. So that'll be nice.
Yeah, it will be nice to be able to stare into your eyes as I talk about my favorite deck. So.
Oh yeah, I can't wait. Well, awesome. Thank you guys for listening to our podcast. Yeah. Do you have anything
Don't forget
else?
to listen, share, and yeah. I mean, we're not really doing any kind of promotion. We're just putting it out there on Reddit and a couple of different things. But I know last week we mentioned that we would have a Instagram account. We have not yet done that, so maybe by the time this episode comes out, maybe we do. Who knows? But keep looking for us on there. And then, yeah, so just keep on sharing because it's a lot of word of mouth right now.
Yeah.
Awesome.
So,
and every little bit helps. Any comment, any rating, everything. So, thanks.
thank you so much, and have a great rest of your week.
See you guys later.
Bye.